Today, I'd like to talk about building a custom oak railing using scrap wood. If you happen to be lucky enough to live next to a business that builds furniture, they commonly throw away hardwoods that are scrap to them, but are a gold mine to a woodworker. Go in and talk to them. Many are happy to give it to you just to get rid of it. About 20 years ago, I used this scrap wood to build this nice railing in front of my house. All of the brown slats are actually made out of this scrap oak, while the black that you see is made out of top rail posts. These 3-inch diameter posts can be found at your local farm and feed store. As long as you do maintenance on it, like pressure washing it and restaining on a regular basis, the oak actually has remarkable durability even though it is outside. You do, however, want to keep any vegetation from growing up against it. Okay, let's start covering the details on how to build this. Since the top rail posts are 10 feet long, that'll turn out to be the maximum distance you can place your vertical posts apart from each other. And the nice thing is you don't have to worry about this 10-foot post sagging in the middle like you do a 2x4. You can either mount the posts directly into the ground, or you can install them into tubes that are in the ground. This will greatly enhance the lifespan of the post, as well as make future maintenance easier. Procedures for installing these tubes can be found at the link above on my video on how to grow peas. If you decide to put the post directly into the ground, my video on installing temporary posts will show you how to use tools such as this to accomplish that task. No matter which procedure you decide to use, always put a wood preservative onto the wood that will be in contact with the ground. While designing your rail, don't be afraid to get a little creative. Here we can see I have tall railings that are broken up by a short piece of railing. This has two functions. You can draw people's attention to something you want them to see, such as a tree full of eagles welcoming people to our house. The other function is the short piece of railing can be removed. This allows us to gain access to the other side to do maintenance on both the landscape and the railing. While working with your poles, you can use standard woodworking tools, but I found in this situation going to a specialty tool was much easier. This is actually a mini chainsaw that you can mount on an angle cutter. If you're looking to purchase one, it's often called a chain wood carving disc. A word of warning though, this tool leaves absolutely no room for making a mistake. If your woodworking nickname is Three-Fingered Willie, you'd probably better avoid this tool, or you'll be changing your nickname. Some of the things you can do with this tool: the center support post on this rail needs to be trimmed in a concave manner. This is so you can run posts across the top and the bottom. Let's take a look at how we do this. If you need to cut notches and do roundovers, you can see here how fastly this tool will cut through the wood. Okay, really, fastly's not a word, I just made that up. And here's your roundover. I apologize for not having better video of this part of the project. I had to purge several terabytes of information from my computer. Apparently my good video didn't survive that process. You'll find if you're dealing with a railing on a hillside, every single piece that you put up will have to be sculpted. When it comes time to assemble, forget about Phillips screws. You want to use Torx. This screw performs a function that this Phillips will not. Although both screws will go into the wood with no problem, Torx can actually be removed after they've been in there for a couple of years. If you're looking for something more robust than screws, now you're talking lag bolts. Just make sure they're designed for long-term outdoor use. You'll know their outdoor quality if they cost you 3 times as much as any other lag bolt. Oh yeah, and reading the packaging also helps. Now that the basic frame is finished, let's get started in converting this scrap wood into usable wood. We want it to all be the same dimensions, and the tool that makes that job simple is called your planer. What it does is shave off a controlled amount of wood off the top of the board. If you run all 4 sides of the board through the planer, you now have a perfectly square piece of wood. And the shavings that it makes you can use as mulch in your garden. When you're finished, you've gone from this to this. Now cutting this wood up is pretty easy. You're essentially only dealing with 2 different lengths of wood: long vertical runs and short horizontal runs. The rail posts that you're using actually aren't perfectly flat, so you'll want to custom cut each vertical piece of oak for the location that it will be mounted in. I found the lengths varied by about 1/8 of an inch. When it comes time to cut the horizontal pieces, you can really get your assembly line moving. Just set up a stop board on your chop saw and cut away. I made this video during the rebuild of my original 20-year-old railing. Over time, moisture does eventually wick into the grain of the wood right here. So I'm simply trimming off the damaged portion of the wood. The size of the squares on the reassembled rail will be a little bit smaller, but it won't be noticeable. After your wood is cut, it's time to reassemble. First, you want to pre-stain your top rail posts, as well as all the oak insert pieces. Using a brad nail gun, attach the first vertical piece. Next, you want to attach the top and bottom horizontal pieces. This sets up your spacing for your next vertical piece. For the inside horizontal pieces, you want squares. So temporarily hold a horizontal piece vertically. At the bottom of that piece of wood will be the place where you're going to mount your new horizontal piece. Once you get a rhythm established, even though there's a lot of pieces to put together, you'll find that it goes pretty quickly. And things do get a bit trickier if you're going to build a rail down a slope or on an angle. The end of every piece of wood is going to have to be cut at an angle. Luckily, there's a tool that solves this problem. It's called a Johnson T-bevel. Simply hold it up to the angle that you want to duplicate and tighten the wing nut. Now you can take that tool over to your chop saw and use it as a guide to set the exact angle that you want to cut at. The rest of the process is the same as I've just shown. Well, I hope I've shown you that building a gorgeous rail such as this is actually a piece of cake. Thanks for watching.